Welcome to this episode of Philly on the Rise. As you know, I'm your host, Michael W. Pleasant. This week, Philly on the Rise finds us in our downtown studios of Philly on the Rise, and we're actually joined by two guests this week. Two guests. If you don't know these folks, you need to get to know them because they are the preeminent. Can I say preeminent? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. They are the preeminent casting agency here out of Philadelphia, Heery Casting. We're actually joined by Diane Heery and Jason of Heery Casting. Welcome to the show. And congratulations. I know that you recently won that 2013 RTOS.
That's right.
The RTOS award. What does that mean to win that award?
Well, it's actually really cool because there is no Oscar for casting, believe it or not.
Okay.
So this is the industry equivalent for casting.
Got it.
So we got it for the location casting for Silver Linings Playbook.
Understood. Yeah, that was an awesome movie actually, and it's a good thing you guys were a part of it. You mentioned the casting process. Take us through the life and the day of Heery Casting. Obviously, you deal with actors, you deal with movie producers and directors. What's that life like?
Well, for people who don't know about our industry, we end up acting like a human resource department in a normal company. We deal with all sides. We deal with producers and actors, and when you're dealing with Screen Actors Guild, you're dealing with rules and regulations that they have to follow, and then in the non-union world, you're helping producers negotiate rates and things like that. So we do a lot,
Yeah. There is no regular day for
Okay.
us because every day is radically different. I think that's why we like it. Because
Sure.
there is a craziness involved, and you've got to be a little crazy to like it.
Okay.
But that's what makes it fun because
Yeah.
every day is so different. One day we're casting something and we're bringing actors in and having them read for different roles. Other days we're setting up for something else. Sometimes we're just pre-screening people for projects.
Okay.
Sometimes we're reading scripts and meeting with producers and directors. Every day is so different.
Every day is so different. Talk about the most frustrating part of your job as a casting agent.
Well, I think the frustrating part is sometimes when the producers are expecting everyone to be on a professional level.
Okay.
And
everyone meaning the actors?
the actors.
Yes.
Okay.
And in our market, because we have a kind of diverse acting pool, whereas you have people just starting out and are needing to build their resume, a lot of times with us, they're going through the learning process. And I say the word maybe frustrated isn't really the word. It's trying to educate the actor on the process and educate the producer on understanding that this is a new person that may not know all the ins and outs of the business yet. They're not fully professional yet.
Sure, understood, yeah.
But by the same token we'll only present somebody in front of the producer if we feel they're ready.
Okay.
So even though they may not have many credits yet and I'm not a full professional yet, but we're seeing something that we go, oh, they're ready to be a professional. They're ready to compete in this market. Or else we wouldn't bring them in.
And you talk about actors being ready. How can actors get ready to go to camera? Is it just the headshot? Is it just the resume? What do they do to become camera ready?
Well, camera ready, when you're talking, in our world, it's an actor who's had some sort of training 90% of the time. There are people that come to us who have no training that can walk in and just get it. But most people, and myself included, when I started as an actor years ago before I became a casting director, you need to go and learn from people to understand what you're doing and put yourself in the right situation, to learn how to interpret copy, and all those things which make an actor look polished, and the polished side of it only comes through doing it and practicing and training yourself.
Yeah, it's a difficult market because the market has radically changed. Before you used to be able to say, oh, these are our talent pool, this is who's going to be auditioning. But now, because of the internet and everything, people are competing nationally.
Yeah.
We'll get a phone call from a guy in Seattle who's willing to audition for a project we're shooting here.
Okay.
So you're now competing against him as well as the guys locally.
Yeah.
So if you're not ready, you haven't had enough training, and training's so huge, really, and have built your resume. you may get left in the dust because the talent pool is so expanded now.
Gotcha. And I know that you offer services to help actors get ready. There's tons of classes and workshops.
We have occasional classes. We don't have a lot of classes because that's not our primary function.
Okay.
You know, our primary function is serving as casting directors. So yes, we do classes, but like it's like they're there, but it's not there all the time, and we're not, and that's a problem I personally have. I can't sell them. I'm not good at selling classes to people.
Okay.
So they're there, and if people are interested, great. We have some info, and when we do classes, I feel they're really good ones. But again, it's not our primary deal. So
yeah, we personally don't. We may give a seminar here and there.
Okay.
But we personally don't actually teach classes. We make our living off casting.
Understood. Understood.
But training is very important, and there are a lot of great places to go in Philadelphia, from a lot of the theaters in town to a couple individual studios which have classes and things like that. But as far as what we offer, the one class that we do offer is actually just an audition technique class.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that directly affects when someone comes in to knowing the process, what happens when they walk in the door, what's kind of expected of them, some of the vocabulary they may not know, and those kinds of things are really important. And that when earlier we were talking about frustration, a lot of it's just because our business is so fast that actors who are just starting out just don't know all the lingo.
Okay.
They have talent, they just don't know the lingo. They don't know how directors talk to them. Like, they may use vocabulary they're not aware of, and a lot of these classes are, a big part of it is just teaching you that vocabulary. So you can have the communication of director-actor relationship that is kind of specific.
Yeah, we touched on frustrations. Now let's touch on rewarding. That's kind of the most rewarding part of your job.
Oh, the fun thing is making that phone call to tell an actor he got the part.
Okay,
that's one of the best things ever, is to be able to make that call, and it just changes people's worlds. I love when that happens. Especially when somebody thinks that they didn't get it. They think they really bombed their audition, and then all of a sudden, I make that phone call, and it's just like,
especially knowing, because of working on all the projects we've worked on and knowing how hard this is. And we hear all the time from actors, I just want one line, and you're like, and you say, well, you're competing against close to 500-600 people in one line. And we know how difficult it is. But the biggest thing that I think is important for the city, and one thing that we've really shown all these productions have come in, like Silver Linings Playbook and How to Get Away, which was an ABC pilot we just did, was actually casting guest stars from Philadelphia. People who are Philadelphians who have major parts. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship between us and the actor. And there's a lot of great, very talented people in this area, and it's very rewarding for us to bring someone in and then go to bat for a local person and say, this person can compete, this person's better than who you have seen other places, and they're from here.
Understood.
And it's a huge it's a huge thing for us, and it's something that honestly, it's kind of a moment of we want.
Well, and just for instance, so we just finished shooting this pilot for ABC. And we had 26 roles booked locally. 26 in one hour episode. Exactly. And what was really cool was, at one point I'm over at their offices, and the executive producer comes over to me, and she says, I just got to tell you, I'm watching all the audition videos that you have, and even if we don't book that person or that person, she said, there's an amazing talent pool of people here. So the reputation of what's available is huge, because if that show's picked up, they're going to bring it back, and now they have a confidence factor that there's a nice pool of people for other episodes here.
Understood.
And that reputation continues throughout the industry. She's talking to other people and telling them.
One thing, one thing David Russell from Silver Linings Playbook, and he can tell you the full what he's done with some of the people from Philly. But when he cast here, one thing that we keep being told, because we've cast in Michigan, we've cast all over.
Because you have some offices.
Right.
Places.
And we've cast in LA, we've cast New York, we've cast wherever.
But the interesting thing about East Coast and south of New York is just how diverse the talent pool is. People who go to LA or whatever sometimes won't get the opportunity because they're character actors, meaning, you know, they're not the pretty ones.
Right, yeah.
But I take a movie like Silver Linings Playbook, where David Russell wants very much, when people watch it, say, okay, I am in this neighborhood.
Gotcha.
So he wants people who look like they're from here.
Yeah.
And he fell in love with so many of the actors here that he wanted to shoot a second movie here, but we were out of tax incentives. But he took 2 actors from Philadelphia to Boston to be in his
American Hustle.
American Hustle.
Okay, yeah, okay, awesome.
So yeah, so I mean, so they remember.
Yeah.
Oh, we saw these great people here, and they're bringing them elsewhere now. So that's huge, and just how the development of the talent pool in the Philadelphia area, it's just expanding and spreading the word everywhere.
Yeah,
which is really nice. Yes.
You mentioned that diverse pool. So can an actor earn a living, a working actor earn a living in this Philadelphia market?
Yeah, you gotta hustle, really hustle.
One thing is, you know, an actor who works in Philadelphia, if you're going to be a professional, you have to work several markets, meaning you have to work from Virginia to New York, and sometimes some people go even further and work in Boston.
Okay. All right.
And there's a lot of local Philadelphia talent that we
Sure.
would consider Philadelphia talent that have to work all these markets. So
Okay.
in Los Angeles, where you have an actor who necessarily thinks they're commuting if they're driving an hour to an audition,
Yeah.
in Philadelphia, it's not unheard of for people to drive 6 hours to Pittsburgh for an audition.
Right.
So it's to make a living, you've got to be willing to make those choices and do those things.
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunities. Yeah, besides even the theater companies in Philadelphia. So there's opportunities in theater, there's opportunities in film and commercials, but you have to be that hustler and know, okay, you know, right now, and to feel the market and go, okay, well, a little quiet in Philly right now. Maybe, you know, things are percolating, but nothing's real yet in Philly. But wow, what's shooting in Virginia?
Yeah.
What's shooting here?
You have to be willing to hop in your car and take that
Exactly,
drive.
and be making those contacts everywhere.
Yeah, earlier, Jason, you mentioned the film tax credit and
Yes.
how it kind of expired a little bit. So that's super important as far as bringing jobs, bringing projects to Philly. So one of you could just talk about that and give us a synopsis of how that works.
Well, she is the expert on tax incentives, so.
Okay, well, the film tax credit program basically incentivizes film production to come to the state of Pennsylvania. And they get a 25% tax incentive if they shoot here in Pennsylvania. They have to shoot 60% of their project in the state to qualify for it. We are allowed, every fiscal year in the state, we are given $60 million in tax credits to allocate to various projects.
Yeah.
The tough part of it is that we've been so successful that we run out of tax credits every year. The fiscal year goes July to June.
Okay.
So, and every year by, you know, after the first 6-7 months, we've run out of that $60 million.
Wow.
Because it's so successful between shooting in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and other places in the state. So, because it's interesting, for instance, we mentioned before, the director from Silver Linings Playbook wanted to shoot his next project, which was American Hustle. He wanted to shoot it here in Philadelphia. It's set in Philadelphia. The true story it's based on was Philadelphia.
Okay.
But we had run out of tax credits that year, so that's why he had to take it to shoot in Boston.
Understood.
We lost World War Z.
World War Z, I was thinking of that.
We lost the Bourne legacy.
Okay.
So, I mean, we lose some big things because we run out. So right now...
Does Harrisburg then have to increase the budget? Is that what the deal
Well,
is?
there it is. So right now, and it's always hinging upon the full state budget.
Okay.
So right now, the budget for the next fiscal year is in negotiations, and there is a bill pending to not increase our ceiling, our limit, but to remove the limit totally.
Really? Huh.
Which would be huge, just to give us that opportunity to prove, yes, you know, uncap us. And let us, you have 100 million, 150 million. New York has $450 million a year in tax credits.
Okay.
And the thing
And
to
we have
remember,
60,
the
so-
the thing to remember with this tax incentive, and one of the big misconceptions is that they're just giving this money to Hollywood, but they only get the money if they spend it in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
That is 60%? 60% of the budget has to be spent, and they can only write off stuff they spent in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they get
Understood.
audited, they have to prove it.
Sure.
So so what happens is, everything from sales tax to employment taxes.
Well, just think of the hotel rooms that they use and restaurants that people visit, the lumber yards, for instance, the movie Unstoppable that's shot basically just beyond State College. So not in the regular metropolitan areas of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So it's not just affecting those two cities, it affects the entire state.
Yeah.
But Unstoppable, they booked every hotel room in a 50-mile radius. They just took them all. Hotels that were closed for the season, they made them reopen so they
and
could
they
use
got
it.
some business.
And the lumber yards and the paint stores. So, and there's the thing they call the multiplier effect, and that's when that trickle down of expenditures.
Oh, yeah.
And it's huge. So because that hotel was open extra, he could employ more people. That person could now buy a new car. That person, it's huge.
But I would imagine there has to be some negatives of just removing the cap, right? There has to be.
Let us prove it first. Give us a chance.
Okay.
You know what? Louisiana doesn't have a cap. My
Georgia.
understanding. And Georgia doesn't have a cap.
Okay.
And those two states are the ones to beat.
Okay.
Everything is going there. And the part of the problem is that the powers that be who make the decisions of where a film's going to shoot,
That's the first thing they look at.
that is the first thing
very
they
first
look
thing
at.
they look at.
And
Okay.
they go, okay, they'll tell a producer, you're only allowed to shoot your movie you get your choice. Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts, Louisiana, you find your locations, but it has to be in one of those states.
Okay.
That's why so many other states never get shot in, because they don't have tax incentives.
Sure.
So we have crew, we have very talented, experienced crew available in the state. We have a fabulous talent pool of actors available in our state. We have incredible locations in our state.
Sure.
We have so much to offer and a variety of things to offer here. Plus the proximity to New York, which they like, which they don't get in Louisiana. So give us that opportunity to uncap the credits and let us show you what we can do. There it is.
Is that a message for the government?
That is
Yes,
the message.
absolutely.
Give us that chance. Yes.
The one thing to remember is for every dollar the state gives back to the production, it's 25% of what the total spend.
Okay.
There's been studies that show they make $3.
Ah.
So it's a moneymaker for the state.
Oh yeah. Sure.
And the film industry employs a lot of people every time they come in. And I guess at one point last year, how many, there was in Pittsburgh, there were 3 projects going, and in Philadelphia there were 2. So you're talking 5 major studio productions being shot at the same time. And there have been times where I'm sure it's been higher. So that's it's a lot of money coming in.
The average film crew is 250 people. Just a small film. You go to a big film like the Will Smith project After Earth.
Yeah.
That one had like 600 on the crew.
Okay. All local talent, all local folks.
Most of them, yeah.
Sure.
So that's where we keep growing and educating more people, because it lets the film students coming out of Temple and Drexel and Carnegie Mellon and Pittsburgh and Penn State and wherever there are film programs, they don't have to go elsewhere for jobs. They're graduating, so give them jobs here.
Right here in the state, right here in
Yes.
their own backyard. You
Yes.
mentioned tons of projects you've been involved with. And as an actor, you've been on quite a few sets. Us who have been cast by here will look up and, oh, there's Jason. What's Jason doing here? So give us one of your experiences, one of your more memorable experiences of being on set.
It's probably the first time we saw on Transformers them blowing up a factory in was it Bethlehem?
Yes.
It was awe-inspiring. The unbelievable special effects, and in that one they actually blew up an old, I think it was the steel.
The old steel mill.
Steel mill. They actually leveled it.
Man, all right. That's a one-shot deal. You can't really
One time
deal.
And it was amazing because there was a lot of coordination because they were using a lot of military helicopters, things like that. There was all kinds of coordination to when the thing was blowing up and coordinating the helicopters flying over.
Okay.
It's a logistical nightmare that the people who shoot these big epic films do every day. It's just awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, logistical nightmare, but logistical genius, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. When you look at some of these projects, you go, how did that happen? And if you have a layperson come to a set, and you just stand there and watch all this, organized chaos.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant when you have a crew who knows their stuff and things just are happening, and then you see the finished product. It is pretty brilliant.
Pretty brilliant and amazing. Let's talk about what's next for Heery Casting. Is it just getting as many projects as you can and casting them? What's next?
Well, I mean, right now we're working on an independent film called Bad Boys, Crazy Girls. Fun comedy.
The writers.
Yeah, the writer is one of the head writers from The Big Bang Theory.
Okay, yeah.
But
Local producer.
yeah, it's a local producer, Tammy Teal, who
Okay.
actually won an Oscar
Yeah.
for a documentary she produced a few years ago.
Okay.
So it's it's a fun little piece. But we have a couple other irons in the fire of big prizes we're not allowed to talk about. And of course we have our fingers crossed that the ABC pilot that we just finished gets picked up by the network.
Okay, okay.
So we're waiting. We won't know that until, about a month or so if that happens.
Understood. Okay,
Yeah.
good stuff. Well, thanks a lot, Heery Casting, for joining Philly on the Rise.
Thank you.
Yeah, and once again, give us that message to the government about that, removing that.
Remove the cap. Give us a chance.
Give us a chance. You've been watching Philly on the Rise. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.